So, David, you said you was gonna talk about us custodians, right?
Oh god, you sound like my cousin. Yeah, we should talk about your faction. Your faction is absolutely wild to keep track of. In the past few months, you've been entirely mid-range. Recently, you've gotten to the top completely, and with the leaks about your codex, you might be getting your asses kicked by Space Marines, so... Yeah, this is wild, but let's not take the codex. That'll be out in, 2 weeks, maybe a month? Who knows when it'll be there. Let's see the damn index. So, the army rule is martial kata. This applies to all custodes units with this ability. Apparently, unlike a lot of armies, this can apply multiple times, but only for a single phase of the battle, the fight phase specifically. You can choose one of 3 options that change your melee weapons. One subtracts from the enemy's hit roll, one gives sustained hits 1, and the last one gives lethal hits. All of these are pretty good, but unfortunately doesn't apply to Sisters of Silence, which is a rather small amount of units in the army, but does make up one of the best vehicles. Though it apparently does apply even to the gunship? Wait, why does a plane have a melee weapon? What is a plane doing? Wait, does this? Why do all planes have melee weapons? 10th edition, what are you doing? What is that plane doing to melee you?
Beating a fucker with a plane sounds like a Tuesday.
Alright, that's my phrase. Don't be doing that.
Don't write me that way.
And don't break the 4th wall. Now, the shield host has pretty okay ability. Aegis of the Emperor giving Custodes models in the army a feel no pain +4 against mortal wounds and critical wounds caused by attacks with devastating wounds abilities. So they can feel no pain against dev wounds. Games Workshop changed mortal wounds to separate them from devastating wounds just because the Custodes were too powerful, then proceed to make the ability do the exact same thing as before. Good job, GW. You made a lateral move. And this is without Custodes getting fucked by their upcoming codex. So, let's look at the enhancements. Cheapest enhancement is 10 points, is Inspirational Exemplar. This thing can't be put on Sisters of Silence and gives the bearer a leadership characteristic of 5+. That's terrible, but it also has an activatable ability. Once per battle at the start of any phase, this unit can just undo a battle shock of a unit within 12 inches of this guy. Kind of shit, honestly. Battle shock just isn't much to worry about, really. I mean, they made this enhancement and the entire Dark Angels detachment based around being battle shocked. GW had more faith in battle shock than what was deserved. Next at 25 points is Unstoppable Destroyer. Again, can't go on Sisters, but the passive ability is that it deals mortal wounds on charges. The activate ability is that at the end of the charge, all enemy units within 6 inches must make a battle shock test. Honestly, with how 10th edition is so melee focused, giving planes a melee ability, but almost all melee is okay at best, unless it's a World Eaters unit, this is a pretty alright enhancement. Next is Veiled Blade, also at 25 points. No Sisters for this one either. The passive is that it adds 2 attacks to the bearer's melee weapon, which is pretty good for Custodes who are very melee focused. While the active is triple the bearer's objective control. That's kind of wild there, though I don't know how useful that actually is. The last one is 30 points. Ceaseless Hunters lets the bearer's unit charge and shoot in turns they fell back on. The active ability allows the bearer to move 6 inches if an enemy ends a move phase within 9 inches of them, but not in engagement range. Honestly, not bad. Repositioning is pretty good in any situation. Can build a good charge there. Now let's look at stratagems. For 1 command point, we got Slayers of Nightmares, which can be used in the fight phase on a unit that hasn't been selected to fight yet. It allows the unit to add 1 wound against monsters and vehicles. Honestly, that's always good. Vehicles are hard to kill. Avenge the Fallen is used under the same conditions, but add below starting strength. Adds 1 attack characteristic to melee, or might be all weapons. Adds 2 if they're below half strength. More attacks is always nice, really. Can't really go wrong with that. Wavering Sentinels is similar conditions, but costs 2 command points, and can't be used on Sisters of Silence. The unit does need to be in range of an objective marker. It essentially gives the Fight First ability, which can be great against someone like World Eaters or Blood Angels, but may not be useful in most situations. Arcane Genetic Alchemy is also for 2 points, this time during your opponent's shooting or fight phase, just after your enemy has chosen their targets. You can select any Custodes, not Sisters, that has been targeted by 1 or more shooters or swingers. It subtracts 1 damage characteristic from said attack, which I know that for most abilities like this, there needs to be a minimum of 1 damage, but that stipulation isn't on the app and it's hard to find. But no damage characteristic can be less than 1. I really hate how hard that rule is to find. A new guy may not know that, and if it's not easy to find, he may think others are cheating. I know I thought that at first, when my friend told me that about this rule. So, GW, tell people, update the rules so this is obvious. Next is Vigil Unending, back at 1 point, used during the command phase on 1 not sister unit. It brings back 1 model at full wounds, but each unit can only be affected once. This ability is honestly great, though its limitation makes it annoying to try and use, though it also makes your opponent need to hyper-focus a single enemy unit to go against it. Last one is Sorn Guardian. It is also for a single point cost. It's used during your move phase on a unit that, again, has a penis and is within range of an objective marker you control. It essentially gives you sticky objective to that unit, which is always nice. Honestly, this detachment is a mixed bag as it stands right now. Apparently, the Codex does some major shit to the Custodes to wreck your bed frame and make you put ointment on your asses. I'm used to Knights being that because it's hard to balance an entire army of giant robot vehicles. Custodes are also hard to balance for the exact opposite reason. They're supposed to be the elites, but if they're too powerful, they need to be costly in points. But if they're too costly, their abilities might not be looked at as worth it. And before you ask, no, I'm not going to talk about the Codex leak about the woman being a Custodes. It's not much written about it. And hell, it's very possible we're misunderstanding a whole lot of it as well. And you could argue that the Sisters of Silence are also full-blown Custodes. Hell, I could argue that actual Custodes being born a woman is also possible, assuming it's a mutation with the pre-birth genetic thing, or it's just someone happened to be a woman who's genetically capable of becoming a Custodes, given Custodes aren't augmented like Space Marines. But who knows? That's not for me to go into. That's enough from me, though. I'm going to go pick up my knight. I'm actually pretty excited for that, so, shove off.